So today we are diving into a huge question. How in the world do you protect your applications when they don't live in one safe little building anymore, but are spread all across the massive, constantly changing world of the cloud? You know, the old security playbook, it's pretty much useless now, so it's time to learn a whole new set of rules.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll take a quick look at that old security playbook, just to see why it really doesn't cut it anymore. Then, we'll get into how the cloud completely flipped the script, which forced us to find a totally new kind of guardian. After that, we'll break down the two main pillars of this new approach, before finally seeing how it all comes together to create a unified future for security.
All right, so to really get why cloud security is such a revolution, we first have to wind the clock back a bit. We need to understand the world it replaced, a time that was, honestly, a lot simpler and way more predictable for security folks. You know, this right here just nails the problem perfectly. Traditional security, it was basically like being a guard for a single building. You had obvious walls, you knew where all the doors were, and the layout was totally predictable. But cloud security? That's like guarding a massive, bustling city that is constantly knocking down buildings and putting up new ones. The old strategies, they just don't apply.
And you know what? That old model worked pretty well. It worked because you literally owned the data center, the building. You controlled the physical perimeter, you knew exactly where every single server was, and any changes happened really slowly, over weeks or even months. You could build your security walls, and you could be pretty confident they would hold.
But then, everything just got completely turned on its head. The rise of the cloud wasn't just some small adjustment. It was a massive, seismic event. It fundamentally rewrote all the rules for how we build, deploy, and of course, secure our applications.
See, today, our modern applications aren't running in some company's basement server room anymore. Nope, they're on these huge global platforms like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And these aren't just someone else's computers we're renting. They are entirely new ecosystems, and each one has its own rules, its own services, and its own crazy complexities.
And this is exactly why that old building model totally falls apart. Cloud environments are designed to be dynamic. Infrastructure gets spun up and torn down in seconds. Applications automatically scale up or down to meet demand. They're built from these tiny independent pieces called containers and microservices, and they're spread out all over the world.
So, this brings us to the absolute heart of the problem. How can you possibly apply a static, rigid security model to an environment that is, by its very nature, completely fluid? Your walls and your doors are now just lines of code that can be changed in a single instant. The simple answer is, you can't. You need a completely new kind of guardian.
And that brings us to the modern solution, something that was designed from the ground up for this chaotic yet incredibly powerful new world. It's called a CNAPP, and it really represents a complete shift in how we have to think about security.
So, what in the world is a CNAPP? Well, it stands for Cloud Native Application Protection Platform, and the best way to think of it is like the ultimate security command center for your entire cloud city. So instead of having one team watching the gates, another team patrolling the streets, and a third team checking building codes, a CNAPP brings all of those functions together into one single powerful system.
Its coverage is incredibly comprehensive. It looks at the entire application lifecycle, from the first line of code to the running application. This whole approach embodies a really critical concept called shifting left, which just means moving security from something you tack on at the end to being a core part of the process from the very beginning. It secures the infrastructure, checks the code for flaws, monitors the live workloads, and manages who can access what.
Okay, let's break that down a bit. The first and probably most fundamental piece of this whole CNAPP puzzle is something called CSPM. This is all about securing the foundation and just getting the basics set up right from the get-go.
This is honestly the perfect way to think about it. I mean, if the foundation of your building is cracked, it really doesn't matter how strong you make the walls, right? CSPM, which stands for Cloud Security Posture Management, is that process of constantly inspecting and securing that foundational layer of your cloud.
So what CSPM does is it essentially gives you a complete real-time map of your entire cloud environment. It sees every single resource and automatically flags misconfigurations. We're talking about things like a storage bucket that was accidentally left open to the public internet, or maybe a user role with way too many permissions. It also helps you stay compliant with standards like GDPR, and this part is huge. It can often automatically fix these issues before an attacker ever has a chance to find them.
Okay, so CSPM secures the foundation. That's great. But what's protecting the applications that are actually running inside the buildings?
Well, that's the job of the second critical component, CWPP. Yep, this absolutely gets right to the point. CWPP, or Cloud Workload Protection Platform, is the active, real-time security guard that protects your applications while they are running. It really is the beating heart of your operational security.
So how does it do this? Well, it's constantly watching for any strange or suspicious behavior in your running applications. Think about a process that suddenly starts trying to mine cryptocurrency or connects to a known malicious website. It scans for known vulnerabilities in your live code, and if an attack is detected, it can actively block it in real time. It can even do this cool thing called micro-segmentation, where it isolates a compromised part of an application to stop an attacker from spreading. It's that resilient defense you need, because you have to assume an attacker might eventually get past the first line of defense.
Now here's the most important part. This isn't about choosing one or the other. The real power, the entire idea behind CNAPP, is how these two components, securing the foundation and real-time defense, come together to create one seamless, powerful security strategy. It really breaks down pretty simply like this. CSPM is proactive. It's all about setting the right rules and securing the foundation to prevent misconfigurations from ever happening. CWPP, on the other hand, is reactive. It's the real-time defense that stands guard to stop active threats that get through. One prevents, the other protects, and together they give you that holistic coverage you absolutely need. And this, right here, is the ultimate payoff. By combining these capabilities, you get a security framework that doesn't slow you down. It's built for the incredible speed and scale of the cloud, making sure your applications can be agile and innovative while also being secure and compliant. You actually get to have the best of both worlds.
So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. In a world where your infrastructure is a dynamic, ever-changing city, are you still out there trying to guard it like it's a single, static building? The cloud-native future, it's already here, and it demands a new set of rules and a new kind of guardian. The only question is your security ready for it?